enjoying your country, enjoying your culture, and experiencing your wonderful driving, which I have to say I'm a little terrified of, to say the least. I think I've aged about 3 years just from about 1 or 2 car rides, but I think overall it has been an amazing experience here. Thank you for all the sharing you've done.
Should we share your driver story, Russ?
No, we should not share any of my driving stories. That would not be good. The time I have with you today is going to be a little bit different. You've had a lot of people spending time with you today and yesterday talking about great technology, and you're going to continue to hear that through today. I'm going to talk about you. My talk today, my time with you today, is really about how we can get the best out of each other, where we need to go to leverage this new technology. As I mentioned last night at the dinner, even I've had an epiphany this week, because we've been talking about creating a revolution. And even in CHiME, we created a new vision statement. And CHiME is our professional organization for healthcare executives that partners with HIMSS, which does amazing events for all of our IT staff around the world. And we created this vision of exceptional leaders transforming healthcare. And it really hit me hard, this epiphany last night, that even the title of this conference and our vision statement, we've got it wrong. We don't want to be transformationists. We want to be revolutionists. Transformation still infers some level of incremental change and thinking through step by step where we need to go, or even a fairly distinct jump in technology change. What we need is rapid change, radical change, completely different ways of doing this. And I think what we're seeing now is there's people willing to lead. People are stepping into healthcare that have not really been in healthcare before, or have made other attempts, but now are jumping in different ways. I've had meetings this week all over India with people that don't want to contribute to healthcare. They want to change healthcare, to create universal care for people, to improve safety, to improve quality in ways that fulfill visions that we've heard about, which is no more safety error, no more issues, things that we can resolve. We give numbers like hundreds of thousands of lives. No, it's millions and millions and millions of lives of people that are negatively affected, because we don't use the tools that are right in front of us. We're in this perfect storm right now, where most are trying to reduce cost. In the US market in particular, we spend 18% of a really big GDP on healthcare. And do I think we can get that less? Absolutely not. I actually don't think we have the willpower as a country to actually reduce that cost. What I do think is we've got the willpower to apply technology to stop spending increasing, which means as we continue to grow, the GDP will actually drop and improve our economy and improve the world economy. No different than here. I'm hearing the same thing. Less cost, better care, better safety, better outcomes and actions. That's universal for all of us. And I've heard this entire week, everywhere I've gone, we all need to shift in this model. Whether it's the continued way we just pay for care now, to eventually this great outcome that we need to see, which is wellness. The sad part about this is if you look at any traditional evolutionary or even small transformational process in healthcare, it takes somewhere between 17 and 18 years to create a change cycle. I don't know about you, but I don't want to wait the next 60 plus years to get to wellness. Even if we cut that in half, 30 years, not good enough. 15 years, not good enough. Not for the people we serve, the countries we live in, and really for the world in a macro whole. And I'll talk about why this thought process is so important in a few minutes. So as I spend a lot of time with C-suite leaders, not great CIOs like you have here in India, I'm talking about the CEOs, the chief medical officers, the C-suites in there. We do surveying of them. What's really important to you? As we spend all these millions, in our case in the United States, billions and billions of dollars on health IT. What's important to you? You know what we universally hear? Not IT. And we go, well, why not? Well, it's technology stuff. That's not what we're in the healthcare business. You know what we worry about? This is what we worry about. This is actually a survey that's done every single year. I have the last 10 years' result from the American College of Healthcare Executives, which actually has members around the world, but it's the American College. And they measure every year. The smaller the number, more important to them. The closer it is to be their number one important item. Every year, for at least the last 5 years, technology's been at the bottom of the list. And the only reason it wasn't 6 years ago is because it wasn't even on the list as the most important things to CEOs. 10 years ago, I would have actually said this is fine. 5 years ago, I would say it bothered me. Now I tell you, look at this list really closely. Is there one thing on this list that you can do well if you have bad IT? Put it another way. If you've got a chance at doing this great and being a great healthcare provider, you better have great IT. I almost make the argument now, take IT off the list. Take technology off, because every one of those things is IT now. Every part of every organization is IT. IT is not the department in the basement or hidden away in another building. IT is every one of us. It's a different world than we've ever lived in before. A physician is IT, a nurse is IT, the administrator at the very top is IT. It's just different than before. And even Gartner puts out their list every year, what's really important. And yes, it's a whole bunch of technical stuff. I spend time with really large groups of CIOs all around the world, very much like Steve, even much bigger crowds. And I ask them a simple question. I'll pick one on here as an example because I've had such a recent experience. 3D printing. I'll ask a CIO, tell me your 3D printing clinical strategy. And they look at me with the blankest look on their face I've ever seen. What do you mean? What's a 3D printer got to do with patient care? At the end of last year, I was at a facility in Utah in the United States. And he goes, Russ, I got to show you, the CIO, I got to show you this 3D printer thing we're doing. It's so cool. And so we went in there, and we walked in, we looked at this 3D printer, and they were printing holiday ornaments. And I said, that's really cool. You just spent $50,000 to print Christmas ornaments. That makes no sense. He goes, wait, we'll see later. We went up to one of the clinical areas where they were doing a showcase. We walk around the corner, and there's a perfect 3D rendering of a heart. Every heart surgery they do at their organization, the physician, it's a 3D rendering of the heart before the surgery. A perfect replica of the heart. You can see every minute detail. Cut times drastically reduced. Infection rates because of that drastically reduced. Outcomes dramatically improved. Complications almost eliminated because of a $50,000 3D printer. We walk to the next booth. There's an entire dismantled rib cage. Right next to, this is a 3D printing of it. A perfectly reassembled 3D rib cage from a major trauma accident. Every major trauma, 3D image completely printed out before a surgeon goes in to redo all the rib cage and all the structure in the chest. Cut times almost eliminated. Complications dramatically reduced. Safety dramatically improved. Quality dramatically improved. You know what? If I need to learn how to use a 3D printer by doing holiday ornaments so I can eventually get to hearts, you better have a 3D strategy right away. Actually, you better have a clinical strategy for every single thing on here. Because all IT is clinical now. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's a printer. I don't care if it's a Wi-Fi. It's all clinical now. And it's a different mindset for the leaders to think through. We built this strategy almost 12 years ago to help leaders in IT, not just CIOs, leaders in IT, all of you, to get to a new place, to get to what we call the 2.0 leader, where you're absolutely driving change in organizations. The beauty is it's been a great framework. The sad part is we still don't have most of our leaders there. Managers, directors, executives, we don't have those leaders there. Now we need to take everybody, because if everything's IT, we've got to take the C-suite and all of our nursing and all of our physician leaders with us to this new place. And as we've gone through this process, we've said, what's the most important things? And you're going to hear from Steve as he's gone around the world driving standardization with NRAM and trying to get everybody to this highest level. And I was just in Singapore with him a few weeks ago where they crowned their first level 7 MRAM. And I walked up to the person, he said, and I said, congratulations. He said, yep, and it's not good enough yet. So I actually asked Steve, where's level 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of MRAM? Because we're going to have to get better and better and better. But these building blocks are universal. And here's the beauty and the sad part of this. This is not an all-exhaustive list of what we need to do to drive healthcare change, to actually transform the system we're in. We've never found a single place in the entire world, no matter where we've gone, and I'm sure it's the same for Steve, that does all this great. Matter of fact, I've never found a place that does half of this great. But you know what I have found? I found some place that did one of these really, really well or great. And I've seen places this week that do one or two of these things really, really great. So maybe the job of the next generation leader is to quit inventing, and this is going to sound like sacrilege, it really will. Maybe quit inventing and innovating and actually figure out how to share in such a ubiquitous way, not just within our countries, not within our states, not within our sections of the globe, but globally in such a way that if you figured out how to do patient portals better than anybody else in the world, let's just give it away. Not the technology per se, but how to get it done. So everybody gets to your level in less than a year, less than 6 months, maybe in weeks. That sounds like a radical change to health. It does not sound like transformational care. That sounds like revolutionary care. And really, this is what it is. It's this concept of there's a new leader out there. And now I would even argue change transformational to revolutionary. Because you know what CEOs tell us they want in the new leaders that are leading IT? They want operational excellence all the time. Uptime, 24/7, real access, everywhere, all information, any device, anytime, anywhere in the globe. Perfect standard. And they just expect that. What they really want is strategic leaders that know how to help and shape an entire organization's mission and vision, to deliver care in a way differently. They don't have to be a clinician. They just have to understand how to drive business change, to actually get out and meet the customers in the field, meet them in their places of work, and actually figure out how to do the things that I just mentioned before. That's what they want in the new leader. That's you. And I've seen it this week. Not all over, but I've seen it this week, and it's quite impressive. It's this difference between evolution and revolution. If you look at the definition of revolution, fundamentally changing the way we think. Not incrementally thinking, fundamentally thinking about a new future. Let me give you a couple facts. By the way, these are somebody's opinion of fact, but let's just use them as fact for a second. What if a petabyte of data, which even a few years ago, just the raw data cost about 80,000 US dollars. This person assumes, and they're probably off by a couple years, but let's just assume for the purposes of the argument, that a petabyte of data, that's a lot of data, only costs about $4 the next 5 years. If you back up, by the way, and use the reverse of this, with gigabytes and megabytes and terabytes back, it's actually pretty close to true. I can go buy a terabyte drive at my local electronics store for about $40. And the only reason it's not less expensive is because the case it comes in and the distribution of it. The actual data itself, storage, costs pennies. So think about that for a second. What if storage is no longer a problem and it could fit on a phone like Kali's wearing his iPhone? A petabyte of data can go anywhere in the world with him. Now think of this. What about cell service? Most people have 4G, but you know 5G is being tested and there's actually 6G in prototype. This is how much faster 4G was than 3G. 1,400 times faster. 5G will be 100 times faster than that. You know what that means? Picture your favorite movie in highest graphic form and you can download it in maybe 1 to 2 seconds. So if I now have the ability to download anything, anywhere, instantly, and have all the data I need anywhere, anytime, maybe our world is radically different. Maybe I don't even need a data center anymore. Maybe I don't need tethered cables anymore. Maybe I can deliver care anywhere in the world, anytime, because universal access and storage and processing is no longer an issue. Technology will actually enable revolutionary changes in care. Now maybe this is off by a few years. You still better get ready, because 5 years in technology is no time at all. These things will change. I'll give you a very brief example. This summer I was on a mission trip to the far reaches of Nicaragua with a bunch of teenagers. We went up as high as we could into the mountains of Nicaragua, past the coffee plantation, in a village that occasionally has electricity, but at this point had no electricity. Excuse me. No running water. Sound familiar? I pulled my phone out in the middle of nowhere, and guess what I had? 5-bar access of cell service. The entire country leapfrogged technology over and over and over again, And they said, we're not putting infrastructure in. Everywhere in the country will have 3 or 4G cell access 100%. You know where this tiny little village in the middle of nowhere gets its physician care and nursing care? On a few village cell phones, smartphones. They go down the hill and charge them. When they need to get a doctor or consult, they just do it on a phone. They don't have to travel all the way down because they can't. Maybe that's the world we live in. Maybe we can get most of our care fairly remotely. I know Apollo's, they're doing things right now with telemedicine. For this country, maybe we need to do it for the whole world in a different way, and everyone can have access. That's coming quickly. So this is my challenge to you. What if, for the first time ever, we can wipe the slate clean, wipe the entire canvas blank, and say, quit incrementally changing what we've got? Maybe we get a rare chance to paint a new picture. Paint a picture that's never existed before, and think of ways of using, yes, the technology we have, but in radically different ways. That's a visionary, revolutionary leader that you are and will become more in the near future. To create value that is so astronomically higher that we don't even question the application of technology because the clinical care is so much greater. Clinical outcomes, the safety outcomes, and as mentioned before, no more errors. A simple challenge. Children living to 120. Those are the things we need to work on. I showed you this at the beginning. This incremental change, this evolutionary change that we supposedly have to work our ways through. I say, no, we're not going to do that. There's somebody here that can help us figure this out. Some of us can jump a few steps, but maybe one of you, maybe it's this health system. Maybe it's somebody you don't even know in this country. Maybe it's somebody that doesn't even work traditionally in healthcare that says, I don't even want to work that way, I want to work differently. To actually jump us all to wellness quickly. So we can see great outcomes for the people that deserve it. That's our patients. Because in the end, the goal is this. Wherever we are in the world right now, revolutionary leaders have to come together. We've got great leaders like this up here willing to do it. Steve travels more than I do, which is really difficult to do. He travels actually a lot more than I do around the globe. For the very reason we both are committed, at least, and I don't know the others yet that well, but I can speak for Steve and I, and that is we only have one goal, and to make this planet healthy, make the people better. That's why we come to work every single day, and work usually is in a plane on our way to great places like this. So as we move forward, the message is simple. Welcome to the revolution. You're no longer just transformational leaders, you're revolutionary leaders. Thank you for letting me spend a little time with you.